What's up YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of The House Show. This is James Law speaking here. In today's episode, I'll be discussing with you what is actually a township development. What's the differences between a township development and individual plot land developments? There are actually differences for both of these. In today's video, we will only focus on this township development. Just to share with you what I've learned, a township development, right, we are not saying around like 5 acres, 10 acres or even 20 acres. It can reach to the point whereby it's more than 1,000 acres. The developers, they already plan out what they should do with that 1,000 acres piece of land. And that is what actually is a township development. Now, for individual plot land developers, they just purchase a piece of land and then they just build on that piece of land. For township developments, the developer has a clear picture, has a clear idea on how to develop this big piece of land. For example, they already plan to build a condo here, while on the left side of the condo, there will be some parks going on. Above the parks, right, then there would be some recreational centers, like maybe they have some badminton court, you have some futsal court as well, and then what else can you get? Maybe you can have some gyms as well, and then not far away from it, then you have some commercial center as well. That's what a township development is. They have already planned everything out. When you walk into the sales gallery, you will automatically know this is a township development project or it's an individual plot development. To add on a little bit, the safety wise for a township development would always be much better. What do I mean by this? The safety that I mean is not only in terms of the fencing, it's not in terms of the CCTVs, it's not only in terms of the security. What do I mean by safety is that, like for example, the pedestrian walk path, they actually created some buffers between the walk path and the, what do you call it, main roads. So how do they actually create a buffer between it? They actually planted some plants on it, so in terms of the visual, it looks good, but in fact there is a reasoning behind it. Why do they plant greens in between the main roads and the walk path? This is able to provide the pedestrian who is walking a better safety as it creates a buffer between the main road and the pedestrian walk path. Like I always mention, right, everything definitely has two sides. So the pros for a township development is that it's kind of like a mini city. Let's say if you do not want to go anywhere, you can actually live in that particular city, as everything you need, everything you want is available in that township. It's called a mini city for a reason. Basically, you get everything within your radius. You can get some banks as well, you can get some cafes, groceries as well. Everything within your radius is not very far away from you. That is the first pros for township development. While for the second pros of a township development, right, is that you are aware of what developments are coming up in your surroundings. What I've learned is that as developers, they already plan out everything. We as a buyer, we get all those information, like what developments are going on in the future in our surroundings, so that we make sure that our views that we want, individual plot developments, right, you only know what is happening in your piece of land. You wouldn't know what is actually happening on the next piece of land beside you. Let's say if you are unlucky, the land that is located right beside you, certain developers, they decided to build a taller building than your unit, then in fact you are actually facing to them. So that is what I mean by you are aware of what developments are happening in your surrounding. That is the second point of pros for a township development. For the third pros of a township development is that in terms of the security wise, it's on the top tier condition. We talk about the walk path security, and then we talk about the CCTVs, the security guards, and then what else, what kind of safety can we get as township developments? You could even have some cycling pathways which is separated from the walk path. So meaning to say, walk path, cycling pathway, then this is the place where they plant the trees to create a buffer with this main road. So instead of like main road and the walk path. The developer separated the walk path and the main road with 2 layers, which is the cycling path and the the plants. After discussing the advantage of township development, what is actually the disadvantage of a township development then? Here comes the first point of a disadvantage of a township development, which is in terms of the pricing. It will be much expensive compared to individual land developments. Why is the pricing of township developments, right? It's much more higher compared to a individual plot land development. I found out that it's mainly because you are buying to the environment as well. You are buying into the environment where you get all the securities, you get all the accessibilities, you know. That actually creates a premium in terms of pricing. Basically, you are paying more for that community living style. Since we get all the walk paths, we get all the cycling tracks, we need maintenance, right? If they are not being taken care in a good condition, then there is no point in developing such a good landscape. Hence, this also reflects in terms of the maintenance charges for the residents. Meaning to say, right, you get what you paid for. If you want a better environment, then definitely you have to pay more. We can't expect to get like something in a cheaper price, but top tier quality, right? Both of them should be equivalent. You pay more, you get better quality. For the third point of the disadvantage of a township development is the period, the time taken for the entire construction to be completed would be much longer period. As you know, like it's a big piece of land and then everything it's developed based on stages, based on phases. For example, right, they plan to build this commercial first. After the commercial has been completed and then the amount of tenants is there, you get sufficient traffic, you get sufficient customer for all the tenants, then only then you start to build the residentials. After you build the residentials, then maybe you proceed with the recreational centers for the usage of the residents. So the entire thing, right, it's developed phases by phases. That would actually reflect on the length of a development. So that will be the third point for the disadvantage of township development. Yeah, I guess that's all for this episode. If you actually learned something away from this video, remember to give it a like, share it, and even subscribe to my channel. This is James out here. Thank you for watching till the very end, and I'll see you again in the next episode. See ya!